Well, welcome again to another flipped video. This is for chapter 5.1, video B. And today we're going to be talking a lot about James Hill, aka the Empire Builder. First, let's do a little background on his railroad, which was known as the Great Northern Railroad. James Hill created this railroad in 1889, and he actually made it out of several smaller rail lines that had gone bankrupt. This rail line went from Lake Superior to Minneapolis, then it went through North Dakota, Montana, northern Idaho, and ended in Everett and Seattle. And I'll just make this map a little bit bigger and you will get to see where all it went through. So here we have Lake Superior, down to Minneapolis, up through North Dakota, Montana, northern Idaho, through the Rockies, through the Cascade Mountains to Everett and Seattle. Hill also strove to develop the resources and the regions where his railroad was. And the thinking behind this was that these people would use the railroad to ship their goods to the eastern United States or through the whole country. For example, you could have apple farmers in the Wenatchee area sending their wares, their apples, to the other part of the country. So if you're able to help develop their resources and to help these regions become more profitable, they'll use a railroad a lot more to sell their goods. Continuing on with the Great Northern Railroad, one big difference between James Hill's railroad and other railroads, such as the Northern Pacific, was the fact that James Hill did not receive or take government land grants. You may be wondering, Mr. Volkman, how exactly did he get the land and the money to get his railroad successful? Well, that would be a great question. And one of the things he did is that he worked really hard to get settlers into the area where his railroad was going to go. And then once those settlers were there, he then helped to improve their businesses. And a lot of it was their farms. For example, in Minnesota, he was one of the first people to set up a threshing machine to help harvest the crops. He also pushed for crop diversification, meaning not just putting the same crops in the same fields over and over again, but to rotate and put different crops in, such as this chart shows. He was also known as an authority on agriculture and livestock. As I mentioned in the previous slide, James Hill knew that if he was able to help the farmers close to his railroad, help them do good, they would use his railroad to ship their items back east, which would help him get money. So he knew he had to help them in order to be successful himself. Slide. I'd like to talk about the Great Northern Railroad and its rivals, and how they were able to defeat their rivals, and how they're able to stay successful. But to do that, I think it would be best to have James Hill do the talking. So I'm going to step off camera and get James Hill to come on camera. Now, you may hear some scuffling because, well, he's never seen a computer. And the last time I had someone who'd never seen a computer come on, they got a little freaked out. So bear with me for a moment, please. All right, James. You ready to come on camera?
Well, I don't know there, Mr. Volkman. I don't know about this contraption. Is this some kind of newfangled threshing machine?
Well, not really, James. It's called a computer. It stores information.
Information? I don't know about that information. If I sit in front of it, what am I to do?
Well, just tell us about how you dealt with your rivals, and as I told the computer, explain what you did to stay successful.
Well, I think I can do that. All right. All right. Well, I'm James Hill. I'm a very busy man here, so I'm going to be quick. So what I did is when one of my rivals, such as the Northern Pacific Railroad, went bankrupt, I bought them. Yep. And I then revived it until it made money for me, you see. Well, let's see. Mr. Volkman wanted me to talk about how I avoided going bankrupt. Well, you see, a lot of railroads back then went bankrupt because they got land grants and they couldn't pay those grants back. Well, let me tell you, I was a little smarter than those guys. So first thing that I did is I built my railroad in stages. That's number one for all of you kids who want to be railroad magnates. See, I knew that I had to make my lines profitable before I made them bigger, you see. So I built in stages. Number two is I sold homesteads to immigrants. You know, other people did that, but that's a lot of what I did to make my money, you see. I then made the trains to take them to their homesteads, you see. Yeah, so you're getting the points here, children. I then used this money from the homesteads to fund the expansion of my railroad, you see. I also used this money to improve the lines I already made. I then continued to purchase lines that went out of business, you see. And at one point, I owned so many railroads that they said I had a monopoly, you see. And they said I had to back away from my other lines, the smaller ones anyways. You may be asking, who is they? That'd be the government. I control the train industry, and I had no debt. I ran like this feller. Whoa, I can't touch that feller. You see? Well, I don't see your teacher, Mr. Volkman, so I'm gonna have to tell you this is the end of the video, you see. And something about questions on Edmodo that you need to look at, you see. Yeah.